Today is the 11th match in this series. We've had 10 fantastic debates so far. This quality seems to go up and up, and we are very excited to see how the debate today goes. Today we have Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi, Karnataka, going against Mount Litera Z School from Maheshtala, Kolkata. It promises to be an exciting match. So without much ado, let us start. So today's match, as I said, is between Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi, Karnataka, and Mount Litera Z School, Maheshtala, Kolkata. Do we have all the participants present? Mrs. Bhattacharyya, thank you for joining. Mr. Muralidharan, thank you so much for joining. You are the two adjudicators from your schools.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome, ma'am. We have Meghna Laha as the neutral adjudicator. Meghna is AVP at Notebook. She holds an MPA from SIPA, University of Columbia, New York. She worked with the World Bank, where she's monitored 42 unsupervised projects across Africa. She's done a phenomenal amount of great work in the social sector and joined us at Notebook to make learning more fun and easier for all the kids in India and now abroad who are using Notebook. We are very proud to announce that Notebook recently crossed its millionth user, and we seem to grow from strength to strength thanks to all the love and support that we get from you. We are really humbled by the kind of support that you've shown to Notebook and to this 0-hour series of debates. I don't see Sri Snato on the list. Mrs. Bhattacharyya, can you please confirm if Sri Snato is joining?
Yes, sir. Srishnato will be there. Ridhija will be there from our school.
Ridhija I can see online, but Sri Snato I don't see has joined yet.
So let me do the follow-up, sir.
Thank you so much, ma'am. We are also very proud that this is brought to you powered by Stayfree. Stayfree, a Johnson & Johnson brand, does a phenomenal amount of great work for women's hygiene, particularly young women who are just entering their puberty. There is a public service announcement that they wanted us to share with all of you. We'll quickly play that video before we start the debate.
मेरे पीरियड शुरू हो गए हैं मुझे तो काफी अजीब लग रहा है
पीरियड्स में मुझे आसान काम भी मुश्किल लगता है बहुत दर्द होता है
मैं किसी के पास बैठ भी नहीं सकती और जब मैं उठती हूँ बार-बार निशान चेक करती हूँ
घर में एक ही वॉशरूम है तो पैड चेंज करने में मुझे शर्म आती है
मुझे पैड को कचरे में छोड़ना पड़ता है हर बार
She may not understand what she's going through. She just needs to know. You do. Over 2 million girls will get their first period in lockdown. Your daughter or sister could be one of them. Talk to her. Tell her.
It's normal. It's just a period.
After that heartwarming message, it's time to move on with today's proceedings. Today's debate is between the Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi, and Mount Litera Z School, Maheshtala. The topic today, as someone was asking a few minutes back, is this house believes globalization is an euphemism for imperialism. I repeat, this house believes globalization is an euphemism for imperialism. These are the two teams from Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi. Mr. Muralidharan is the adjudicator. Sumit is speaking for the motion and Achin is speaking against the motion. From the Mount Litera Z School, Maheshtala, Mrs. Pubali Bhattacharya is the adjudicator. Ridhija would be speaking for the motion and Sri Snato would be speaking against the motion. This is the speaking order. We'll start with Sumit first. Sumit, you will get 5 minutes initially to place your arguments for the motion.
Sir, I am speaking against the motion, sir.
Sumit, you're speaking against the motion.
Yes, sir.
Achin is going for the motion.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry for that confusion. You'll have to give me just a few minutes so that we can quickly make the corrections.
Sure, sir.
So that then is the order. Achin speaks first for the motion, followed by Sri Snato, who's going against the motion, followed by Ridhija, who's speaking for the motion, and then Sumit speaking against the motion. Each of you will get 5 minutes to place your initial arguments. After you're each done with your set, we'll show you the scores given to you by the judges, which would be out of 95. 5 points for rebuttal are still waiting to be scored, for which we will circle back to Asim, and then Srishnato, then Ridhija, and then Sumit for your rebuttal. The rebuttal would be for 2 minutes, and the judges would score you on your rebuttal for 5 points. At the end of your 2 minutes of rebuttal, after all 4 of you are done, we will show you the final scores that you get from the judges, and that would be your final scores out of 100. Post this, we would ask the audience to vote for the best speaker of the day. The school that has the best will have 25 additional points. As we have seen in our last few debates, the audience poll has often been the decider when the finish has been really, really close. Has Srishnato joined? Yes, Srishnato.
Yes, yes, sir. He's there.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So if the contestants could please switch on your cameras. All right, I can see all of you now. Thank you so much. Yes, Sumit, we lost you for a second there. Asim, we'll start with you. Before we start the debate, we would love to know a little bit more about you. If you could tell us which class you're in, your favorite subject, your hobby.
Sir, my favorite subject is biology. Sir, I like to play volleyball. I like to read newspapers and sing songs.
All right, the singer, volleyball player. Asim, if you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
Globalization is an euphemism for imperialism. Globalization is the process of interaction and integration among countries, people, companies, and governments worldwide. Globalization is primarily an economic process of interaction and integration that's associated with social and cultural aspects. Imperialism is a policy or ideology of extending the rule or authority of a country over the countries and people, often by military force or by gaining political and economic control. Imperialism is a distinct concept that can also apply to other forms of expansion and many forms of government. By the definition, globalization is the expansion of communication links between different regions, whereas imperialism is expansion of both power and territory. However, the two are similar in the sense that powerful have an upper hand and can increase their profits at the expense of the poor. The globalization keeps poor nations poor and makes the corporations richer and richer. What existing in imperialism is just existing nowadays in globalization. Take the elements of imperialization, then relate with that of globalization. Nearly they are the same but different in operation. For example, monopolization. In imperialism, constant exploitation of natural resources, but of globalization is all about areas of investment and for market. Imperialism made the world smaller by integrating different continents economically and politically, and to some extent also socially with regards to language, culture, and individual movement between continents. Modern globalization is similar in all those regards. In fact, the idea of globalization is consistent with the new way in which the deficiency literature has characterized the interdependent world order of nations, which is based on the assumption that the spread of capitalism and technology outward from the developed capitalist part of the world would allow less developed regions to advance to the same level. The idea of globalization also implies that accumulation of capital, trade, and investment are no longer confined to the nation and thus enhances the idea that capital flows have created a new world order with its own institutions and network of power relationships. It is exactly that globalization is a form of imperialism in global world as developed countries get control of poor third world countries or poor countries through so-called integration worldwide with the poor one. Through this integration, that poor countries get control by grants and loans with bad conditions that offer entry of powerful country to control their state economy. Just think about it. Imperialism is when a larger country takes over a smaller country for resources and such. You just have to think about imperialism in a modern way. Think about fast food chains. They are all competing to be the very best and they do many things to get more consumers. They try to run the other restaurants out of business. Basically, globalization is the new form of imperialism, we can say. Globalization is the exploitation of several nations to satisfy the want of the great powers. Imperialism is the exploitation of several nations to satisfy the want of great powers. Both take resources in their own way and lease the workers for nothing wages or little wages. It's all about economic and political control. The availability of modern transport and communication technology enables expansion of capitalism. Besides seeking global sources of raw materials, international manufacturers seek to establish markets for their finished products. Efficient manufacturing processes give industrial capitalists an opportunity to make their commodities in poor regions at prices that are above the product's prices. Further, industrial capitalists use the lower standard of living in developing countries to exploit the workers by providing below average wages. In conclusion, globalization and imperialism have several similarities, because the two give powerful and rich countries an opportunity to exploit the underdeveloped countries. Globalization should help developing countries to grow their economies. However, rich countries take advantage of the availability of material resources and cheap labor in underdeveloped nations to enrich their countries. Further, banks, a massive, expensive financial capital, which they loan to foreign investors to create monopolies. Globalization does not address the needs of poor. Rather, it grows economic inequalities between the rich and the poor as resources are shared between the ruling elite, leaving little or none for the poor in any society. As profits diminish in Western countries, investors look for a viable ventures in developing countries where they could exploit cheap labor to increase profits. The same firms use the acquired returns to fill the gap created by falling profits in their mother countries. On the other hand, banks use their financial capital to advance loans to struggling countries. However, the countries to be met before or after lending benefit the developed nations. Eventually, globalization turned out to be another form of imperialism, as the poor cannot break the poverty cycles or lack access to resources. Though developing countries fail to grow their economies because of poor leadership, the conditions imposed by international financial institutions and World Bank have adverse effects on the growth of third world countries. Over to the moderator.
Thank you, Asim. Some very well researched points there. However, judges, please note Asim went considerably over time and you should mark him accordingly. Judges, you have access to the scoring sheets, I hope. Meghna, I have your score. Thank you. Muralidharan sir, I can see that you're live on the sheet. Pubali ma'am, I can see your scores coming in. Thank you. Muralidharan sir, we are waiting for your scores to come in. Asim, just give us a few minutes. We'll tabulate the scores and show them to you in just a couple of minutes.
Sure, sir.
Muralidharan sir, if you can start scoring, please. Asim's name is in the second column. Pubali ma'am, I think you've mistakenly put a score for rebuttal, which is row number 9. We will put the rebuttal scores after the rebuttal round, please. Muralidharan sir, are you facing any issues in putting in the scores? If you could please unmute yourself.
Sir, unmuted.
Yes, sir. Are you able to score?
No, sir, it shows your data validation is pending. Please try again later. Loading data validation options, please try again. It shows like that. There is any option to enter it manually?
Yes, sir. You can directly enter it manually as well.
Okay. No, it is not getting to enter manually also.
Check once, please. So Pubali here.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, we are waiting for your scores in rows 12, 13, and 14, please.
Sorry.
Ma'am, we can see your scores in rows 12, 13, and 14. These 3 rows.
Twelve, 13, and 14. Now we'll mark 12, 13, and 14. I'll mark now.
Yes, ma'am. Only the use of rebuttal, the 5 points. For
That
rebuttal
I'll not.
will
Okay,
be
okay,
marked.
sir. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much. Muralidharan sir,
Sir,
if you could just put this, if you can see where my cursor is on the sheet, right? I'm
okay.
on column N. If you could just put in the marks in that column.
No, I could not see the cursor.
So I think there are some issues in the marking.
Loading data validation options. I can see that one.
Okay. I understand, sir.
Yeah.
Asim, sorry to keep you waiting. You'll have to give us a few minutes to sort this out.
Okay, no problem.
Sure,
Sir.
sir.
Okay.
Sir, you're logged in from your personal email ID, correct?
Yeah.
Just give us 1 second, sir. I'll share another link to the sheet with you. Please
Okay.
use that.
Okay.
Check your email. You must have gotten a mail from us.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, our apologies for the delay. but we really cannot move ahead without this course.
Okay.
Meghna, I have your scores. Kubali ma'am, I have your scores as well. Thank you so much. Sir, have you received the link?
Sorting out. I got a link to join the meeting.
No, sir. This
Shall
will
I
be a
join?
Google Sheet link.
No, that one I did not get, sir. Ah, yes, I got. Now I.
Okay. If you could
Yes.
click on the link, sir,
Yes.
please.
Okay. The same old story. Loading data, validation, updation. See, actually, earlier I joined from another email ID from the school itself.
Sir,
I think that is.
the sheet that you are on right now, I am on
Yeah,
that same
I
sheet.
got it.
But if I am clicking the drop down arrow, I am seeing the points there.
Okay. Okay. So it has gone to second column. Yes, and Achin. Okay, I ended. And then,
Asim, just a few seconds now. I can see Muralidharan sir's scores coming in. Sir, row 9, you will have to fill up later, please. After the 2 minutes of rebuttal is done by Asim.
okay. Over, sir. Okay.
Row number 9. That will take the score later.
Okay. It's from my part, it's over.
Sir, actually, you have filled in a score in row number 9. I'm deleting that score.
Yeah.
You'll have to fill in the row 14 for the vocabulary.
40.
40, row 14.
What should I do there in the column number 9? So
Sir,
please.
if you leave that empty, I have marked the
Yes.
box. If you could put that score in, please, for vocabulary.
Yes.
No, sir, you're putting the score in row 9. That score will have to be filled in later.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. We have your final score.
Okay.
So, Asim, sorry to keep you waiting. If you can see your screen, these are your scores out of 95 from the 3 judges. Well done. With that, we'll move on to Srishnatha, who's the next speaker. Srishnatha, if you're ready.
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. We would love to know you a little better, get to know your class, your hobbies, what do you enjoy doing?
Sir, my hobbies are painting. I love to spend times with my friends and my families. My favorite subjects are English and science.
All right, Srishnatha, who loves English and science. If you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon to all the dignitaries, my friends and fellows. This is Srisnatha Chakravarti of class 9 from Mount Litera Z School, Maheshtala, and today I'm going to speak against the motion of this house believes that globalization is an euphemism for imperialism. As we all know of the quotation, globalization is a fact of economic life, and this economy revolves around the lives of the human beings. I can see that today's program is also in the partnership with Save the Children. But to give something in the form of reality, we need to really put up a lots of efforts along with bucks, such which is indispensable. Globalization is a business process which deals with worldwide economy, and imperialism is a policy of extending a nation's rule over foreign nations, often by military forces or by gaining political and economical control to other areas. Like we all are children and our livelihood is totally dependent on our parents' income. But we still have the choices and demands. We are given the desirable ways to choose our careers. I think it's called the liberty. Though the Chinese products or business is much dependent on India's market, but we, the Indians, must possess the right to choose between the globalization and imperialism. And I think that we have already demonstrated our power of integrity and the essence of nationality. The cosmopolitans must keep it in their minds that now the new world is not going to accept the imposing of Hitler's rule again. Business is business and mankind is different. If anything differs, I think that money is probably not the last thing left in the world. Thank you.
Short and sweet, Srisnatha. Let's see how the judges score you. Judges, you have access to the scoring sheets. I hope we've ironed out all the technical kinks. Meghna, I have your scores. Thank you. Should I take them to be final?
Yes.
Muralidharan sir, Srisnatha is in the last column, the fourth column. If you could please put the score in there.
Yes, those are my final scores, Shubhai.
Thank you, Meghna. Ubali ma'am, if you could just fill in the score for use of examples and facts, that's row 8.
Yes, sir. I'm doing.
Thank you. Muralidharan sir, I have your scores. Should I take them as final? Ubali ma'am, I have your scores. Can I take them as final?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. So Srisnatha, if you can see the screen, these are your scores up on the screen now. Well done. Ridhija, you're up next.
Yes, sir.
Hi Ridhija, how are you?
I'm good, sir. Fine.
Great. We would love to know you a little better, which class you're in, favorite subjects, your hobbies, anything you want to tell us really.
So I'm Ridhija Dutt from Mount Litera Z School, Maheshtala, and I study in class 11. my hobbies are dancing. I love to play football, and I love to paint a lot. And my favorite subjects are English and history, geography, psychology.
Wonderful, Ridhija. So time to bend it like Beckham. If you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Ridhija Dutt from Mount Trazi School, Maheshtala, and I am going to speak for the topic that globalization is an euphemism for imperialism. So, imperialism is a policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization, use of military force, or other means. So, it is basically a rule of an emperor. It is the state policy practice of extending power and dominion of the direct territorial acquisition or by gaining political and economic control over territories and people. There are several impacts due to imperialism. There are a few positive impacts, such as suppose the positive impacts of imperialism are imperialism gives people, the native peoples of different countries opportunities and change their lifestyles. It changed law, giving people more freedom and rights. There are even negative impacts, like the natives who live in Africa. The treatment with them was very cruel and inhuman. The Europeans mostly colonized Africa for their own economic and political benefits. There are several other countries like Britain, Russia, Germany, and in the late 19th century, there was even Japan and United States. So now we come to the word globalization, which refers to the emergence of the international network of economic systems. It is a process of interaction and integration among people, companies, and governments of different nations. Globalization is a form of imperialism only. In globalization, its principled application, free trade, barriers are removed and restraint on trade is abolished. Both the opposite of any kind of imposed is imperialism. So basically, globalization is just another word for imperialism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ridhija. Some wonderful arguments there. Let's see how the judges score you. Judges, you have access to the scoring sheet.
Those are my final scores, Shubhayu.
Thank you, Meghna.
Sorry, I had missed out on one row, so please recheck the scores.
Yep, I have updated them. Thank you. Muralidharan sir, are those your final scores? Ubali ma'am, may I take those scores as your final score? Ridhija, sorry to keep you waiting. Just a few more seconds of suspense, but I'm sure it'll be worth it.
Okay.
I'm not seeing any changes on the scores, so I guess we'll take them as final. Ridhija, if you can see your screen, these are your scores up on the screen now. Some wonderful scores there. I think you're leading the tally at the moment, but things can change at a second's notice, as we have seen earlier. And Sumit, you are up next.
Yes, sir.
Before we start, Sumit, we would love to know you a little better. If you can tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yes, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, Sumit, loud and clear.
Yes, sir. Myself, Sumit Mutakpalli from Veerendra Patil Public School. I love playing volleyball and cricket, and my hobbies are reading newspapers, and I love subjects such as economics and biology.
Economics and biology, that's a very interesting combination. It's honestly the first time I've heard that combination. Great. And I also really like your headset. Really gives me a pilot feeling.
Yes,
right?
Sir. Yes,
Sumit, so if you're ready with your arguments, we will start your time now.
Yes, sir. Today I am going to speak on the topic globalization is an euphemism on imperialism. First of all, the meaning of globalization is usually interpreted to indicate the integration of the economy of the nation with the world economy. It is a multifaceted aspect. To put in other words, globalization is the method of interaction and union among the people, corporations and governments universally. Imperialism is a policy of extending a country's power and influence through colonization, use of military force, or through other means. The main difference seems to be that imperialism is something from the past, whereas globalization is from the present. Imperialism usually refers to the doings of a military empire founded for the benefit of a particular nation or alliance. Globalism usually refers to an enlarging an economic environment or standard for the main benefit of some set of powerful multinational corporations. Wealthy families, dynasties are common to both, as are claims that what's good for an empire or a global market is ultimately good for everyone within or near to one. Imperialism and globalization are not the same. Imperialism is an explicit policy by a country of control of another, whereas globalization is the mostly organic result of several decades of growing connections between the economies of the world. However, the financial framework that has come about from globalization has the potential to be abused by economically powerful nations to exert undue influence over less developed countries. The growth of the economic influence of a country and thus the spread of its multinational companies and their respective influence is, in essence, an organic process. It is not necessarily always a good one for all involved, but it has an aggregate been beneficial globally. It is the intentional abuse of this influence by a country that can hide imperialism behind the guise of a globalized financial system. This is something the United States did its share of at the zenith of the Cold War and something that China is doing still today. The general strategy is this: approach a less developed country and give estimates on the economic viability of knowing that the estimates isn't accurate. Have the country take out a loan to pay for the project. The great power builds the projects, the economic gains do not materialize at the scale promised, and that country is now in debt to the great power. Imperialism is a polity put forth by a nation, whereas globalization is a global phenomenon. Imperialism is unilateral, whereas globalization is multilateral. During the age of imperialism, developed countries would use their military to conquer another less developed country and their resources in order to become prosperous. In globalization, developed countries with wealthy companies take advantage of poor countries as a source of cheap labor. One could argue that imperialism and globalizations are interrelated because imperialism is one country taking over another country. In reality, globalization is just one culture taking over another culture. Globalization of culture perspectives in global communication and media studies. At an extreme, cultural imperialism is cast as the international extension of the long discredited hypodermic needle theory, which views cultural consumers as passive automatons. Imperialism means a policy of extending a country's power and influence through diplomacy or military force. That idea of extending power pretty much articulates with colonialism, which is the policy of practice of acquiring full or partial political control over another place. While globalization usually refers all of the activities required to make a product globally consumable and marketable, above and beyond what is required to sell in just a single area. Globalization is the practice of business practices in other countries, as well as continued integration of the world war. I suppose if a sort of an evolutionary process, imperialism is conquest through military or economic domination. Globalization refers to the interaction economically, politically between different nations, companies, governments, and citizens. Globalization is largely due to the advancements of the internet. Imperialism refers to a nation which occupies multiple foreign nations and regions such as Japan in the World War II era. Imperialism was something that occurred at the end of the 19th centuries. Wealthy nations took advantage of mineral-rich developed countries. Globalization is simply the expansion of something such as business to a global scale, or our economy is becoming globalized, but imperialism in the traditional sense is long gone from our world. I will conclude, sir.
Thank you so much, Sumit. Some very erudite arguments there. Very well researched, I must say. Let's see how the judges score you. Judges, you have access to the scoring sheet. Meghna, I have your scores. Thank you. Muralidharan sir, let me know when you have the final scores. I'll take them. Muralidharan sir, may I take that as your final score, please? I can see Pubali ma'am scores coming in. Sumit, interesting strategy there. With debate, there are typically two kinds of strategies, right? You have the for, you have the against, and then you have the place in between. And most debaters, when they are given a movement either for or against a motion, they will choose to gravitate towards that end and argue their points. Yours was very center line oriented, and yet you held your own. I quite like that strategy. I should try it out someday myself.
Thank you, sir.
Pubali ma'am, I have your scores. Can I take them as final? I think you have missed out on row 8, the use of examples and facts. Thank you so much, ma'am.
It's okay now, sir? All this?
Yes, ma'am. Everything is filled in. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sumit, if you can see your screen, these are your scores up on the screen now. Wonderful scores. I think you're leading the pack right now, but let's see how the rebuttal goes. So far, ladies and gentlemen, the contestants were arguing using points they had prepared. Contestants received the topics 48 hours prior, so this was well prepared. Now comes presence of mind, because this is where they will have to rebut the points put forth by the opposition bench. Remember, you are not rebutting the points of the opposition school, but the for bench, that is Asim and Ridhija. You are rebutting points put forth by Srishnato and Sumit, and vice versa, right? Asim, if you are ready with your rebuttal, we will start your time now.
Yes, sir. My partner said that imperialism was something that occurred at the end of 19th century. So I would completely disagree on that. There are still actions by many nations around the world that are reminiscent of imperialism. Poor countries can still be highly influenced by foreign powers. The US is often pointed to as neo-imperialist power given its economic, military and political might. There are hundreds of US military bases around the world. The UK, France and Russia also have multiple bases in foreign countries. Thus, imperialism is also occurring now. Over to the moderator.
Asim, keeping it short, choosing to rebut just 1 point, but very well rebutted, I must say. Judges, if you could please put in the score for Asim in row 9 right now. Meghna, I have your score. Thank you. Muralidharan sir, I have your score. Thank you. Pubali ma'am, I have your score as well. Thank you so much. As we said, we'll show you the scores of the rebuttal after all the 4 rebuttals are done. So Asim, you'll have to live a few minutes of suspense. We will now go over to the next speaker, Srishnato, if you're ready. Srishnato, you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, if you're ready, your time for the rebuttal starts now.
Sir, I don't agree with what my partner told, the next speaker, that the globalization is good for the nation and it helps the nation to develop. I don't agree because not means all is not dependent on the globalization, and it also depends on the imperialism. Means the money is not only the last thing. As I told, that money is only not the last thing in the world. It's the emperor can set his nation without showing his power. Also, he could be kind and he could be a social worker also.
Srishnato? Srishnato, is that your total rebuttal, or do you want to say more?
No, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Judges, you have access to the scoring sheets. Muralidharan sir, I have your score. Thank you. Meghna, I have your score as well. Thank you. And Pubali ma'am, I have, ma'am, I think you've put in the marks instead in Ridhija's column. Should I take that score? Thank you so much, ma'am. Ridhija, you're up next.
Yes, sir.
You had a fantastic first round, and then Sumit came and stole a bit of your thunder. This is your chance to win it back. If you're ready with your rebuttal, your time for the rebuttal starts now.
So the point is like what my opposite partner said, like the 2 points which I agree with him, like, agree with him, like imperialism is basically the same thing which globalization is. So I didn't get his few points by not saying that these both are not same. I shall go with that.
All right. Thank you, Ridhija. Making your disagreement heard. Let's see how the judges are scoring you. I have Meghna's score. Muralidharan sir, I have your score as well. Thank you. Pubali ma'am, I have your score. Should I take that? All right. So we have the 3 scores. Sumit, it's your turn now.
Yes, sir.
You had a great first round. Let's see how your rebuttal goes. If you're ready with your rebuttal, your time starts now.
Yes, sir. As my opponent said that globalization has turned out to be another form of imperialism, as the poor cannot break the poverty circles or lack access to resources. According to me, it is absolutely wrong. If a poor believes in his work and he says that work is worship, and if he puts his all effort to work, then he can break his poverty level and can be a rich person. So according to me, it is a wrong statement.
Will that be all, Sumit?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Judges, you have the access to the scoring sheets. If you could please fill in Sumit's scores, then we will have all the 4 speakers' scores. While we are tabulating the scores and putting things together, it is my duty to tell you a little bit about Notebook. Notebook, as you might know, is an EdTech app. We build content that makes school studies easier and more fun. On any personal device you have, you could access Notebook content. These are small videos built for every topic in your school syllabus. Whichever subject you want, whichever class you're in, you will find a Notebook video that explains the topic to you better. What we'll do now is we'll show you a short clip from one of the Notebook videos so that you know what I'm talking about.
We shall now begin with the story. Right at the beginning, we are introduced to the 8-year-old girl, Valyammai or Valli. She is the central character of today's story. Valli is a loner who prefers observing the street from a front door rather than playing with the children of her age. Among all the things she observes, she is particularly interested in a bus. The bus travels between her village and the town. She is envious of her friends who get to ride the bus and visit the town. She desperately longs for a chance to do the same. Often, one of her friends would ride a bus and describe the sights of the town to the other girls. Valli and her friends would taunt her and call her proud. Neither Valli nor her friends understand what proud means and use it as a slang. From this little interaction, we learn how certain foreign words infiltrate the vocabulary of local or rural people with changed meanings. Just as many villagers wish to get a taste of city life, they also aspire for an English education. Let us come back to the story. Valli gathers information about the town by listening to the passengers who travel by the bus. She learns that the bus takes 45 minutes to reach the city and the fare for one way is 30 paisa. It is difficult for her to afford both way rides, but she does not give up hope. She plans, calculates, and recalculates. One spring afternoon, she finally manages to board the bus. The good-humored bus conductor jokes at her precociousness. He addresses her as Madam and incites laughter from the passengers. Valli soon gets busy, admiring the interiors of the bus and the scenery outside. She has to stand on her seat to peer outside. A concerned passenger asks her to sit down, afraid she would hurt herself. She retorts that she is not a child because she has paid the fare like the adults. Next, an elderly woman notices her traveling alone and expresses her concern. Valli judges the woman by her unattractive appearance and behaves badly with her. The author then describes how painstakingly Valli has managed to save money for her trip. She has resisted the temptations of buying peppermints, toys, balloons, or riding the merry-go-round at the village fair. To escape notice, she has planned the trip round the time when her mother naps in the afternoon. All this indicates the intensity of her desire to visit the town. Next, we see Valli's first experience of a moving bus. The thrill of her first ride is expressed in how she observes the motion of the bus.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a brief clip from one of the Notebook videos. We have Achin with us. Achin Bhattacharyya is the founder and CEO of Notebook. Achin is a chartered accountant by training who was a director at Deloitte prior to starting Notebook. Achin, you've heard the debate. If you could have your comments on the debate and a little more about Notebook.
Sure. Should I be audible?
Yes, Achin.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, indeed, this was a great effort on the part of all the participants. Oshim, Shishnato, Sumit, and Ritija, well done. I appreciate your confidence, research, and passion. In fact, we all learn and improve every day, each day. So, what most important is the urge to excel, which I saw in all of you. That's the best part of it. So, I really like your effort, and I think what is most important is at this hour is to promote the cause and art of public speaking. So, we at Notebook, our endeavor has been to connect schools and students from different parts of the globe for a noble cause. Indeed, we have to ensure that we keep the spirit of our children high during this hour of pandemic, when they are confined to their homes, away from their friends, teachers, and playgrounds for months together. So I think great effort, and I'm sure I also thank both the educators, principals of both the schools, and other teachers who have contributed tirelessly in mentoring all of you. And indeed, I also congratulate the proud parents. So, just like the video that you saw just now, we at Notebook, students and teachers are the center of our universe. We work very closely with more than 1 million of them. We use our platform by accessing the videos that we make. And the one that you saw just now, we have 10,000 videos like that in our platform, in public domain, for various boards. Mainly we cater to CBSE, but also in other boards also, like ICSE or state boards, we have our content. So I think great show. I also congratulate and thank our esteemed audience for being with us today to support the cause and encourage our young debaters. I look forward to see all of you in our next debate at 5 p.m. today. And another thing is very important, I'd like to, before I end, see, winning and losing, that's one part of it. More importantly for me, all of you are winners today. Fear of public speaking is one of the most predominant fears around the world. To overcome such fear, to come to an international stage where you compete with your peers from different parts of the country and different parts of the globe, that itself is commendable. So I'll request each one of you to continue with your debating, to continue with this skill, and to do well. And I'm sure all of you will only do better and better, right? Thank you, and all the best. Over to you, Shivai.
Thank you, Achin. The Zero Hour Debate is also brought to you in partnership with Save the Children. Save the Children is a wonderful NGO that started in 1919 and has just completed 100 years last year. We have been very fortunate to have Ms. Bidisha Pillai, the CEO, join one of our webinars a few weeks back and share her thoughts with us. Here is Ms. Pillai giving her message at the 100 years of Save the Children to all of you.
Save the Children was born in 1919. 100 years is not a milestone that many organizations or individuals can claim to have reached. And for us, it's been a tireless, relentless journey to ensure that every child has access to their rights. Every child has a voice. But when we look back at 100 years, because 100 is also a time to reflect, we wonder what it would be like to live in a world where children don't need to be saved. Perhaps we could live in a world where Save the Children does not need to exist. And so as we look at the future, we envision a world which is much kinder to its children. A world in which children no longer need to be protected from violence. Where children are not needlessly dying before they turn 5. Where every child is going to school, is learning, is playing, and is on that path towards fulfilling their full potential. As we turn 100, we pledge to work towards that future of a much kinder and brighter world for children. Every day, every hour, every minute, we will continue on that path. But we also know we can't do it alone. We want to work closely with the communities, with our partners, with the government, and most importantly with the children themselves. They are going to be the change makers of tomorrow. Children like Onoyara, like Rahul, like Salman, like Mamta, They are the ones who are breaking gender stereotypes. They are challenging social norms, and they are changing the world and the lives of themselves and also children around them. We pledge to continue working with them, alongside them, to ensure that every child gets the right start. I'm Bidisha Pillai, and I invite you to join Save the Children in our commitment to ensure that every child gets the right start.
All right. After that short message from Notebook and from Save the Children, it is now time to end the suspense. I'm sure all of you have been waiting eagerly for this moment, so I won't keep you from it any further. After your 5 minutes of arguments and 2 minutes of rebuttal, these are the scores as they stand. Asim, you have 70 out of the possible 100 points. Srisnato, you have 68. Ridhija, you have 72. And Sumit, you have 86. Which means that for the schools, for SVPPS Chincholi, one speaker has an average of 70, another has an average of 86. For MLZS Maheshtala, you have an average of 68 and 72. But you would see that the final average, those in yellow, have not yet been filled in. And that is because of an interesting feature here, which is the audience poll. Audience, this is where you come in, you get to select the best speaker of the day. You've heard all four of them debating. Some of them are your classmates, your friends. So this is the time where your vote counts. I will now start a poll which will come up on your screen. You will have the four speakers listed there. You will have to choose any one of them and cast your vote. At the end of 1 minute, we will know who got the most votes. So if you're looking at your screen, the vote should come up now. That's 1 minute. We will end the poll now. And these, ladies and gentlemen, are the results. With 66% votes, Sumit from Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi, is the speaker for the day. Well, that was closely contested. And let's now take a look at the final scores. Just give me a second while I tabulate. So here you go. These are the final scores. Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi. Speakers getting 70 and 86 and 25 points for Sumit's brilliant performance. Takes your score to 103 out of a possible 125 points. Mount Litera School, Maheshtala, Kolkata. One speaker at 68 and the other at 72 gets you to an average score of 70. I think this was brilliantly played, but at the end of the day, Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi is the winner for match 11 of Pool D. Meghna, who's been our judge, we would love to have some closing comments from you for all the participants.
Thank you, Shubhayu. I would quickly close this. First of all, my hearty congratulations to all the candidates who participated today. I would have to congratulate both the schools for their remarkable performances. Globalization, you see, is as an euphemism to imperialism is definitely not an easy topic to debate. At one hand, we see the waves of globalization seeping through all walks of our lives, impacting us in every possible way. And then on the other, it's also been a pertinent means by which the developed has always dominated the developing nations with their strategic norms on trade and colonization. So, I have seen some of these thoughts come across as your debate points, both for and against the motion. So debates bring out the best in you and enhance your public speaking skills, my friends. I think you should continue debating in all forms whenever you get an opportunity to represent your school and stand out for yourself. With this, let me thank all the participants once again, parents, teachers, and the entire audience to have made this event so fulfilling and engaging for all of us. Thank you. Over to you, Shubhai.
Thank you so much, Meghna. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of Match 11 of Pool D at this zero-hour debate powered by Stayfree and brought to you in partnership with Save the Children. Sri Veerendra Patil Public School, Chincholi, congratulations. I believe you have some celebrations to catch up on, but do maintain social distancing norms while you're doing that. Sri Snato and Riddhija from Mount Litera School, nothing to feel bad about. It was very, very well debated, and I'm sure you'll go from strength to strength. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll close for the day. We hope to see you at our 5 p.m. debate once again. Until then, take care and goodbye.